This is the city. Its skyline photographed on a cold March day from the Empire State Building. Big Town, it's sometimes called, a name that could apply only to New York City. Entertainment capital, sightseers' mecca, financial center of the world, citadel of the communications industry. New York City is, in sports terminology, the big league. And this is an outside view of Madison Square Garden, the plush new sports arena, considered the epitome of indoor athletic facilities. Madison Square Garden is to basketball as Yankee Stadium is to baseball. From the time he's old enough to dribble a ball, a boy dreams of the day he'll play at the Garden. And for the 12 members of Tennessee's basketball team, that dream became a reality in 1969. The National Invitation Tournament, played at Madison Square Garden, is the oldest of all basketball tournaments. Drawing a field of 16 championship caliber teams from throughout the nation, the NIT, as it's popularly known, is a gala 10-day carnival of thrilling basketball action. Contenders for the championship included such powerhouses as Louisville, Boston College, Temple, South Carolina, and Kansas. One team that definitely was not expected to be there was Tennessee. The Vols of Coach Ray Mears, missing 3 regulars from the 1968 team, were expected to finish somewhere in the middle of the Southeastern Conference. This is a film that tells the stirring story of a coaching staff and a group of players who refuse to accept the judgment of the experts. It is the saga of a team which, when told, "You can't," replied, "We will." It is the story of the 1969 Tennessee Volunteers. Coach Ray Mears, whose teams over the past 4 years have finished no lower than second in the tough Southeastern Conference, is nationally respected as one of the soundest tacticians in the coaching profession. An intense person who takes on a savage work schedule, Mears is a serious-minded professor of basketball. He also appreciates and uses the show business aspects of the game. The pep band that plays incessantly at Vol home games. The chorus of beautiful girls who dance up a storm to the beat of the music. The team's colorful warm-up drills. The introduction of players in the darkened Coliseum. All of these things contribute to the spine-tingling atmosphere in the Vols Stokely Athletic Center. Mears, with a record of 250 victories and 75 defeats in 13 years of college coaching, has taken his place second only to Coach Adolph Rupp of Kentucky as the winningest basketball coach of all time. Helping Mears direct the Vol Cage fortunes in 1969 was associate coach Stu Aberdeen, formerly of Acadia University in Nova Scotia. And now, let's meet the 1968-69 Tennessee Volunteers. Bill Justice was the team leader. This talented Knoxville senior, elected captain by his teammates, was one of 3 volunteers named to the National Invitation Tournament All-Star team. Bill set an all-time NIT record when he made 22 free throws in a single game. An All-Southeastern Conference player for 2 years, he won a berth in 1969 on the Helms Foundation All-America team. He augmented his great scoring ability with his reckless pursuit of the ball, diving for loose balls, and out-battling bigger men for rebounds. Opponents considered his one-on-one maneuvers unstoppable. And as a free throw shooter, he led the nation with better than 90% accuracy, among the highest marks ever recorded by a player. Justice averaged 16.4 points per game and more than 5 rebounds. His best game was against Georgia, when he scored 35 points. 2 nights later, he won the Florida game when his last gasped bucket brought a 1-point win. Bill Hahn, 6'3", 185-pound guard from Cleveland, Ohio, was the other senior member of this Tennessee team. He was named All-NIT in recognition of his superb ball-handling techniques. One of the greatest playmakers in Tennessee basketball history, as can be seen as he sets up his teammates throughout this film. Hahn was probably the finest passer ever to wear the orange and white. Bill led the Southeastern Conference in assists with 138, beating out Pistol Pete Maravich in that vital category. His favorite trick was looking one way and passing another. Hahn was the heartbeat of the offense, running the attack from the point position. His 6.9 scoring average failed to reflect his value to the team. Hahn combined with Bill Justice to give the Vols a backcourt pair that Coach Mears felt ranked with the best in the nation. Robbie Croft was unquestionably one of the top stars of the NIT. The 6'10" Vol pivot man, a product of Hamilton, Ontario, was labeled by no less an authority than former Boston Celtics coach Red Auerbach as the best frontline man in the nation. Robbie was Tennessee's only really big man. One of the outstanding pivots in the talent-rich Southeastern Conference last season. He averaged 15 points and more than 9 rebounds. His top rebounding production came against Southern Illinois when he snared 17. With as much mobility as any man Tennessee has had, Robbie is normally assigned to low post. But his shooting touch makes him dangerous from the high post as well. Croft usually plays his best ball against toughest competition, as evidenced by his fierce play in the NIT. One of the outstanding sophomores in the Southeastern Conference last season was the Vols' 6'1" forward from Knoxville, Jimmy England. Jimmy's addition to the starting lineup meant that Tennessee had 3 guard-type players in its starting 5. Named to both the Knoxville News Sentinel and Associated Press all-sophomore teams, he fashioned a 12.7 average as he connected on 48% of his shots. His agility and ball-hawking talents were as valuable as his shooting touch. An exceptional shooter, Jimmy boasted a variety of one-on-one moves that made him very difficult to cover. He was able to fire for the bucket accurately, even when enemy players were clinging closely. The other starter was Don Johnson, a 6'5", 205-pound forward from Benson, Illinois, recognized at season's end as the most improved player on the team. The swift development of this dead-eye newcomer helped propel the Vols into the thick of the conference championship fight. A good shooter under any conditions, Don showed the trait of a champion by connecting consistently during the season with crucial baskets, many of them from long range at the corners. His success closely paralleled Jimmy England's, both sophomore forwards being chosen to the SEC all-sophomore team. Johnson gave Croft some help on the boards, averaging 7 rebounds a game. His best effort came against Vanderbilt in the game that cinched an NIT berth when he pulled in 16 rebounds. Johnson averaged 11.7 points per game, while hitting at a 48% clip. Rudy Kennard, a diminutive 5'11" sophomore forward and guard from Atlanta, was one of two substitutes who made vital contributions to the Vol cause. Rudy came up with a number of slick offensive moves that enabled him to beat his man one-on-one. Rudy's outstanding play in the Temple game enabled the Vols to carry the Owls down to the wire before losing. Another valuable reserve was Jimmy Woodall, a 6'6" sophomore center from Charleston, West Virginia. Goose, as he's called by teammates, moved onto the floor and filled in capably for Robbie Croft whenever the big Canadian found himself in foul trouble. Other members of the team, all of whom will return for the Vols' 1969-70 season, were guards Kerry Myers and Dickie Johnston, forward Roger Peltz, and guards Don Campbell and Steve Hirschhorn. These are the players who carried the Vols to a Southeastern Conference record of 13 wins against 5 defeats, a record that earned the Vols the runner-up spot in league standings and brought an invitation to play in the National Invitation Tournament. Now the coach of the Volunteers, Ray Mears.
The 1968-69 Tennessee Termites defeated arch rival Vanderbilt 70-60 for second place in the tough Southeastern Conference and immediately accepted a bid to the prestigious National Invitational Tournament. Ben Bird of the Knoxville Journal said the Termites' appearance in the National Invitational climaxed one of the most inspiring seasons in Tennessee basketball history. They were known as the Tennessee Termites because the first 5 averaged 6 feet 2.5 inches, which is small in collegiate circles. Mr. Bird claims that the 1968-69 team was just that, a team in capital letters. It had its stars, but it received more group effort than individual artistry. It was small, but its players were quick and competitive and of sound basketball instinct. They reminded me as a coach of a matador with his cat-like agility, nerves of steel, and astute moves under tremendous pressure. The past 6 years, the University of Tennessee has had 6 straight basketball All-Americans. The first was Danny Schultz, a 6-foot ball-handling wizard. The second was A.W. Davis, the Rutledge Rifle, who is currently the Tennessee freshman basketball coach. The third was Ron Whitby, the 6-foot 4-inch Knoxville Golden Boy, who also was All-American in football as a punting specialist. The fourth was Red Robbins, a 6-foot 9-inch Floridian, who represented the New Orleans Bucks in the ABA All-Star game for the last 2 years. The fifth was Tom Borwinkle, the first 7-footer in the University of Tennessee basketball history. He is currently the starting center for the Chicago Bulls in the NBA. The sixth was Billy Justice, who led the fine Tennessee team to the National Invitational Tournament. These men executed the complicated Tennessee style of basketball known in the coaching circles as three-dimensional basketball, meaning possessing great offensive skill, complicated defensive skills, and a mental application of the psychology of basketball opportunities. Robbie Croft, the 1970 captain from Hamilton, Ontario, is expected to become the latest of the growing line of All-Americans who have played the demanding three-dimensional basketball at the University of Tennessee.